Hi, Ben with Novelux Stereophonic. About 3 years ago, I repaired this Pioneer SX-850 receiver. At the time, the customer just wanted me to do some basic service, repair what was broken, clean the controls, do a little bit of preventative maintenance so that it could have some longevity. We completed the service and it worked out great. The unit ran well for 3 years, but now it's stuck in protection and it's back on the bench. So I thought this would be an interesting opportunity to see if we can diagnose and repair this unit just with basic tools. Let's start out by opening this thing up and seeing if there's anything obvious. On a quick look, I don't see anything burnt. It looks like I just did a really basic service on this, replacing a couple tantalums in the tuner and a couple key capacitors in the driver circuit. So let me flip this thing over, we'll pull the bottom cover and see what that looks like. Looks like I replaced some select capacitors here, here, and here, but the power supply is still all original. And the power supply circuits are usually the Achilles heel of all these big Pioneer receivers. So the first place I'm going to look is to see if all of our power supply voltages are present. For that, we'll need to take a look at the schematic. Here's a printout from the service manual showing the power supply. We have our power transformer over here. It enters this board, and then we should have all of these voltages coming out. So this is important here. Pin 1 is ground. This is 5.4 volts. 3 is shared with 2. 4 is 13.5. That's probably for the tuner. Stereo indicator is also on pin 4. Pin 7 and 6 don't have a voltage. That might be coming back, sensing something. 8, 9, 10. Those are also going out. 8, 9, and 10, no voltage. Here we have 28 volts. Negative 13.5. Negative 51.5. And negative 19. 28. Okay. Let's check all these voltages and see what we're missing. If one of these is gone, the first place we'll be looking is this fuse bank over here. So I'm plugged in a dim bulb. Let's go ahead and power on. That's odd, the relay just clicked. So the customer had complained that this wouldn't come out of protection. I've got a suspicion something's wrong with his load because this thing's coming out of protection just fine. So my first thought here was to check the DC offset. Sometimes if the DC offset's out of adjustment or it's swinging all over the place, it can cause the protection circuit to come in prematurely. So in order to do that, we're going to test at the relay itself. And the reason is, if we have an intermittent relay, testing at the speaker terminals will only give us a measurement when the relay is closed. So if it's in an error state, we won't get any voltage measurement. So the easiest thing to do is find the relay itself and then trace the connections. So in this case, these top ones we can see go right back into the amplifier boards. That's what we're looking for. The other ones are going to be going off to the speaker select switch. So in this case, we want to measure at this orange connection here. Looks like we've got 5 millivolts, and at the yellow connection here for the other channel. Also 5 millivolts. The DC is fine in this case. This is going to be hard to diagnose until the relay fails again, but for right now, let's take a look at the supply voltage. Again, with one hand behind my back, measuring 35.5 volts here, and about 8.5 volts there. And that might seem a little bit strange, but this is actually correct. This is a 24 volt relay, and 35.5 minus 8.5 is about 27 volts. So that coil voltage is actually just about correct. But while we're in here, let's verify all these voltages. So we're on the 5.4, that's looking fine. Next up, one of these two pins is going to be 13.5 volts. And I've got one hand behind my back here while the other one's inside of the chassis. That voltage looks fine. Let's look for pin 11. It's supposed to be 28 volts, that's fine. We're not looking for exact, we're just looking for close to the correct value. There's our negative 13. Oh, there goes the protection. So you see that? I probed that, and just for a second, yeah, we're losing the protection there. Interesting. Okay, so protection is coming in and out. Is there a negative 51 there? This should be negative 51 and negative 19. Okay. Well, this negative 13, whenever I put the meter there, it seems to have some sort of effect on the protection relay. Yep, just conked out again. So I'm not sure if that's coincidence, but this relay is definitely coming in and out for no reason. After looking through the schematic, I found that this negative 13.5 volt supply, its only function is to feed a portion of the protection circuit. So what I've done here is interrupted the connection from the power supply, and I have it temporarily connected with a clip lead. So if I go ahead and disengage the power supply, you may not have heard it, but the relay just disengaged. And there it comes back again. So I'm simulating our issue where if we lose that negative 13 volt supply, the relay conks out. Now, when this was acting up, we saw this voltage drop to 0 at this point. And when I disconnect it here, we see that the voltage stays solid. I don't think it's an issue where the protection circuit is having an issue and pulling down that supply. I think the supply is actually intermittent. So now that I've got this kind of isolated, I'm going to pull this power supply board and investigate the circuit that has to deal with that negative 13.5 volt supply. If we take a look at the power supply and trace back from the negative 13.5 volts, we end up right here. So the devices of interest are going to be Q4 and ZD12. We also have a couple capacitors that are in this circuit as well. So I'm going to be focusing on this area. I'm going to mark up the PCB diagram with these components so that I can easily find them. We'll pull them out and check them. We can do a quick in-circuit test on the two capacitors. Here's the first capacitor, and already that's not looking very good there. Let's pull out the second one and see how it looks. This one's got a little bit of shrinkage on the top wrapper and on the bottom as well, so I won't be surprised if both of these capacitors have failed. Let's test them out of circuit. Nothing. It's open. Let's try the other one. Yeah, both of these capacitors are bad. I always like to test the new parts that I put in for a couple of reasons. One of them is just to make sure my tester's not on the fritz giving me false readings. So this is the replacement 47 microfarad cap. That looks good. And it also helps me judge the quality of the capacitors that I'm putting in. If I purchase from a specific manufacturer and they always test really low, I might not buy that part again. So these new parts look good. I'm going to go ahead and throw these in, and then we'll test the silicon. I've got both of the replacement capacitors reinstalled. I'm now going to test the transistor and the zener diode. Even if they test fine, I'm going to replace them. They're already out. We might as well put new parts in. I'm going to start out with the transistor. This is a 2SA720. This will be a PNP bipolar junction transistor. And it's looking completely fine. And it doesn't look like we have black legs to worry about here. This could probably go back in, but again, since it's out, I'm going to throw a new one in. Let's test the zener. I really like this little tester from Peak. This is called the Atlas Zen 50. Great for checking and matching zener diodes. So when we hook this up, we need to hook it up in the reverse. A zener diode works on reverse breakdown. So this is supposed to be a 13 volt zener according to the schematic. It's a little bit low, but my power supply was measuring around 13.2 volts, so it was apparently doing its job well. Zener diodes can become intermittent and cause issues I'm not sure it was the root cause of our failure here. These open capacitors are kind of the smoking gun. Maybe there was too much ripple on the supply and it was becoming intermittent, couldn't regulate properly. But in any case, this is also going to get replaced. Here's some new zener diodes from my stash. You can see we're measuring a little bit closer to 13 on the new parts. That one's looking good. I'll use that, 12.97. All right, we'll get these all soldered in. Now before I test this out, while I have the board pulled, I'm going to test these three capacitors here and this one here. They're a smaller form factor and they're in a high heat location, so there's a high failure rate. So let me get those tested and see if I need to replace anything else while I'm in here. A couple more of these tested suspicious, so I'm going to pull and replace all of these while I've got the board out. Let's power it on dim bulb. Negative 13.5 volt supply is good. Protection relay just came in. Let's check the rest of the voltages. I've got one hand behind my back. Negative 19. Negative 52. It's the supply we were working on there. Plus 26. These I think are all plus 35. Plus 50. Plus 50. Plus 13.5. Must be for the lamps. All right, it's all looking good. I've got the SX-850 set up at my long-term test rig. It's been running for about 2 days. No more relay drops, everything seems nice and stable, so I think we've got this thing sorted out. If you're just getting started in audio repair and you enjoy this type of content, you might like my Patreon page. I'm building a library there of exclusive content that focuses on my day-to-day activities at the bench in audio repair. So what I do, just like in this video, we take a unit, set it up at the bench, diagnose any issues it might have, and then I take you through the whole service and verification process from start to finish. So if that sounds valuable, definitely check out the Patreon page. If you'd like to show some support to the channel, but you want to stay on platform, I have YouTube membership available as well. Thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you on the next one.